Have you ever noticed how your shoes seem to tighten by the end of the day, or how your legs seem to weigh twice as much when you finally sit down to rest? This common discomfort is often dismissed as a simple sign of aging, a natural consequence of gravity after hours of movement. However, what would happen if you discovered that this swelling is, in fact, a silent cry for help coming from your heart, triggered by a specific choice you made during your dinner? We are taught to fear major diagnoses, but we ignore the dangerous nocturnal volumetric overload. This is a phenomenon where the fluid sequestered in your ankles migrates to your chest the moment you lie down, forcing your heart to work in a state of absolute stress while you should be merely recovering your essential energy for the following day. Many of us firmly believe that a light snack at night, such as a deli meat sandwich or a quick industrial soup, is the safest option for those over 60. This belief is one of the most destructive myths of longevity, as these seemingly harmless foods are saturated with hidden sodium that acts like a magnet, retaining water in the tissue silently and persistently. By opting for these solutions, you are involuntarily sabotaging your vascular system and paving the way for nocturnal hypertension and cardiac fatigue. Today, we are going to unmask this biological trap and reveal exactly which foods are turning your blood into a heavy tide that overburdens your internal pump. You will discover that regaining your mobility and protecting your heart requires only a conscious curation of what enters your plate before your restful sleep. Oftentimes, we accept swelling in the legs and a feeling of heaviness at the end of the day as an inevitable characteristic of being over 60, almost like a trail left by time. This passive acceptance is precisely what makes the problem so dangerous, as the subject ends up being ignored by patients themselves and, at times, neglected in routine consultations that focus only on major acute events. The truth is that the human vascular system functions as a complex network of hydraulic engineering, which over the decades loses its margin of error for excesses that were previously processed without much difficulty. What many call just retention is, in reality, a clear indication that the balance between what you ingest and what your body manages to filter is dangerously broken, transforming your dinner into a silent and invisible biological burden. The biology of aging brings fundamental changes that make the management of sodium and fluids a Herculean task for the body after age 60. The natural reduction in the glomerular filtration rate means that your kidneys now process toxins and excess minerals much more slowly than in your youth, allowing sodium to remain in circulation longer. Added to this, we have the loss of vascular elasticity, where arteries and veins become stiffer, immensely hindering venous return against the constant force of gravity. This scenario of stiffness and slow filtration creates the perfect environment for fluid to leak into the space between cells, a process exacerbated by low-grade systemic inflammation known as inflammaging, which weakens vessel walls and facilitates the accumulation of persistent and quite uncomfortable edema. This phenomenon affects millions of people silently, initially manifesting as mild fatigue or the persistent mark of socks on the skin at nightfall, signs that precede major complications. The great danger lies in the reduction of cardiac compliance, where the left ventricle becomes less tolerant of sudden variations in the volume of blood circulating within the heart chambers. When you finally lie down to rest, gravity stops concentrating the fluid in the lower extremities, forcing that accumulated mass of fluid to suddenly return to the central circulation, flooding the pulmonary and cardiac system. This nocturnal reabsorption process is what causes awakenings with shortness of breath or palpitations, transforming the period that should be for restoration into a true survival marathon for your heart, which must pump frantically to compensate for this dietary error committed hours earlier. The central conflict we face lies in a daily, almost ritualistic habit, the choice of what we erroneously call a light snack in the evening. For many who have surpassed 60, a traditional plate of food seems too heavy for digestion, leading to the option of a deli sandwich or a quick instant soup. However, it is precisely here that the trap is set, as these ultra-processed foods are true hidden sodium bombs disguised as convenience. This invisible salt acts like a voracious sponge inside your tissues, sequestering liters of water that should be circulating freely turning your legs into heavy weights saturated with fluid. This is not just an aesthetic issue or a passing discomfort. It is a direct attack on your functional independence, as swollen limbs alter your center of gravity, drastically increase the risk of falls, and signal that your internal hydraulics are seriously collapsing. What is truly at stake in this dynamic is not just the diameter of your ankles, but the very integrity of your cardiac pump and your future autonomy. By consuming these meals full of preservatives and sodium, you are forcing your heart into a state of exhaustive overload that persists aggressively even while you try to sleep. The conflict is internal and dangerously silent. Your body struggles to manage an artificial volume of fluids that distends your veins and stresses the chambers of your heart. If this cycle of nutritional error continues, the inevitable result will be a progressive loss of mobility and a frightening decline in your cardiac reserve, leading to an old age defined by physical limitations and dependence on others. This silent erosion of health is the invisible price of a convenient dinner, and understanding this struggle is the first step toward regaining control and ensuring your heart remains powerful and functional. The first major pillar of this silent trap is what many call the light snack. After 60, the body sends signals that a heavy meal before bed can cause gastric discomfort, leading thousands of seniors to opt for white breads accompanied by cold cuts, such as ham, turkey breast, or yellow cheeses. What seems like a prudent choice is, in fact, a massive load of preservatives and hidden sodium that your renal system, now slower, will have immense difficulty processing properly. These foods are designed to last months on shelves, but in your body they act as an immediate trigger for systemic water retention. By ingesting these substances at dinner, you are involuntarily turning your blood into a dense solution that kidnaps water from your blood vessels into the tissues, initiating a dangerous cycle of persistent swelling. Another frequently ignored villain is industrial canned or packet soups, which many seniors consume, believing they are a nutritious and comforting option for colder nights. These preparations are, for the most part, concentrates of flavor enhancers and an amount of salt that often exceeds the daily recommendation in a single serving. When you ingest this type of food, the excess sodium circulates through your arteries, which are already less elastic due to age, increasing osmotic pressure and forcing fluid to escape into the interstitial space. This leakage process is what creates that feeling of a heavy body and tight clothes right after the meal. Understanding that the convenience of these soups comes with a very high biological cost to your heart is essential for anyone who wishes to maintain vascular autonomy and avoid fluid overload during night sleep. To understand the mechanics of swelling, we need to look at how sodium acts as a true biological magnet inside your body. After 60, the efficiency with which your kidneys filter excess of this mineral drops drastically, allowing it to accumulate dangerously. Sodium attracts water molecules into the space between cells where they become trapped, generating what we technically call edema. Since we spend most of the day sitting or standing, gravity does its relentless work, pulling all that excess accumulated fluid to the lowest parts of your body, specifically the ankles and shins. This is why your feet look deformed by the end of the afternoon. It is not just tiredness, but liters of fluid that your vascular system can no longer pump back with the necessary efficiency to maintain balance. This migration of fluids to the legs is not just an aesthetic problem, but a factor that directly compromises your daily safety and mobility. Swollen legs or heavy legs, which subtly alter the way you walk and your center of gravity, significantly increasing the risk of trips and dangerous falls. Furthermore, chronic fluid accumulation in the lower limbs can lead to fibrosis of the skin tissue, making the skin hardened and susceptible to wounds that are difficult to heal. By ignoring this clear physical sign, you are allowing your body to lose the agility necessary for activities that bring joy to life, such as travel and walks with family. Persistent swelling is an alert that your pumping system is operating at its limit, and continuing to feed this process through inadequate dinners is a risk your longevity can no longer afford. If you are identifying with these signs and want to protect your vascular health, this is the ideal time to strengthen your connection with us. I want to take a quick break to acknowledge your commitment to seeking knowledge to age with power and total physical autonomy. If you have already noticed your legs feeling heavy or noticed deep sock marks at the end of the day, Write the word autonomy in the comments so I know you are ready to change this scenario. Also, take the opportunity to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications, ensuring you never miss the vital guidance we share to keep your heart strong and your mind sharp. Your participation is fundamental so that this message of health and control reaches more people who, like you, value dignity and freedom in every stage of mature life. The most critical phenomenon occurs when you finally lie down to sleep, initiating what we call the nocturnal return. Without the resistance of gravity, all that fluid that was accumulated in the legs begins to migrate back to the central circulation rapidly and in large volumes. This massive return of fluids floods your veins and cardiac chambers, forcing the heart to work with an immense preload at the exact moment it should be at rest and recovery. It is this internal flood that often causes the frequent need to urinate during the night, as your kidneys desperately try to eliminate the excess that has returned to circulation. However, if the volume is too large, the heart may not be able to handle this processing, resulting in elevated blood pressure during sleep, which silently wears down the walls of your arteries and heart valves. The consequences of this nocturnal cardiac stress are profound and can manifest as episodes of shortness of breath when lying down, known as paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. When the heart cannot efficiently pump this extra volume of blood that returned from the lower limbs, the fluid can end up temporarily accumulating in the lungs, impairing oxygen exchange and causing sudden and distressing awakenings. In addition to immediate discomfort, this overload prevents you from reaching the deep stages of sleep, essential for cellular repair and for cleaning toxic waste from your brain. Without restorative sleep, your glymphatic system fails, accelerating cognitive decline processes and leaving you fatigued from the very first minute of the next morning. Therefore, what you eat for dinner dictates not only the health of your heart, but also the clarity of your mind and your readiness to live the next day. To identify if you are suffering from this silent edema, there is a simple and immediate test you can perform right now on your shin, called the pitting sign. Firmly press your thumb against your shin bone for about 5 seconds, and then release. If your finger's mark remains indented for more than 2 seconds, it is a clear sign of excessive water retention. Another important indicator is observing your face upon waking up. If you notice deep dark circles or puffy cheeks in the morning, this suggests that fluid from the legs migrated to the head region during the night. These observations of your own body are powerful home diagnostic tools that reveal the state of your internal vascular health. Monitoring these signs daily allows you to adjust your eating routine before the swelling becomes a chronic condition that limits your independence and overall well-being. The good news is that you have the power to reverse this situation through strategic substitution, creating what we call a power dinner. Instead of opting for breads and cold cuts, prioritize foods that have a natural diuretic potential and are rich in potassium, which is the natural antagonist of sodium in your body. Vegetables such as cucumber, celery, asparagus, and dark leafy greens help stimulate the kidneys to eliminate excess water without causing the vascular stress of processed foods. The potassium present in real foods helps relax artery walls and balance osmotic pressure within cells, fighting swelling from the inside out. By making these conscious choices, you stop being a hostage to water retention and start managing your internal fluids as a longevity asset, ensuring your cardiovascular system operates with lightness and maximum biological efficiency. In addition to the choice of main ingredients, using natural seasonings with vasodilating properties is a fundamental tool to protect your heart pump during the night. Replace table salt and ready-made seasonings with garlic, onion, basil, and oregano, which not only enhance flavor but promote the health of your veins and arteries. Garlic, for example, contains allicin, a compound that helps reduce blood pressure and improve systemic blood flow, facilitating the heart's work. These simple adjustments to your daily routine create an internal environment favorable to reducing inflammation and correctly distributing fluids throughout the body, preventing them from stagnating in the extremities. By seasoning your meal with intelligence, you are, in fact, administering a dose of vascular care that will result in lighter legs and a much more resistant and resilient heart over the years. Finally, remember that the body does not age randomly or suddenly. It responds meticulously to the accumulation of small habits we cultivate over decades of life. Tight shoe syndrome is not a fatality of age, but an indicator that your vascular survival engineering needs immediate attention and adjustments. By banishing water sponge foods from your dinner and adopting nutrition focused on real foods, you are optimizing the hydraulic pressure of your organism to live with total autonomy. The final goal is not just to avoid aesthetic swelling, but to ensure that every beat of your heart is efficient and that every step you take is firm and secure. You have in your hands the ability to transform your old age into a period of vigor, where vascular health is the foundation for a long, lucid, and deeply independent life. Consider the story of Mr. Giraldo, who always loved walking but began to isolate himself because he felt his legs were as heavy as lead by late afternoon. He believed sadly that his autonomy had ended due to age, not noticing that the real villain was the ham sandwich and packet soup he consumed every night. By replacing these triggers with a dinner rich in diuretic vegetables and light proteins, in just 2 weeks the swelling disappeared, and he regained the agility to walk miles, feeling lighter than he had in a decade. In contrast, those who ignore the deep marks of SOX and the awakening with shortness of breath attribute everything to the weight of the years until the vascular system collapses into an avoidable hospitalization. These trajectories prove that the difference between freedom of movement and physical dependency lies in the decision of what you ingest at nightfall. It is fundamental to understand that the human body does not age randomly or by pure biological bad luck. It is the faithful reflection of a silent accumulation of choices made over decades. The swelling you perceive today did not appear out of nowhere, but is the result of a progressive erosion of the regenerative capacity of your veins and kidneys. We must view aging not as a sudden drop, but as a continuous transition where every habit, like the salt hidden in dinner, acts as a drop that overflows the cup of vascular health. Understanding this depth allows us to stop blaming only time and take responsibility for the maintenance of our structure. Longevity requires that we look beyond symptoms, recognizing that we are the active architects of our own autonomy or our future biological fragility. Although the risks of nocturnal cardiac overload are real and concerning, it is vital to understand that your body has an extraordinary recovery capacity when it receives the correct stimuli. Do not think that the damage caused by years of inadequate nutrition is a definitive or irreversible sentence for your health. The beauty of human biology, especially in maturity, lies in how quickly the vascular system responds to small and gentle habit changes. By deciding today that your dinner will be an ally and not a burden, you begin an immediate process of reducing inflammation and providing relief for your tired veins. There is still plenty of time to regain control, depuff your tissues, and allow your heart to beat with the strength and tranquility you deserve. Old age does not have to be synonymous with fragility. It can be a phase of conscious strengthening and renewed vigor. Ignoring signs of swollen legs and heart overload can lead to a destination of severe limitations. Without intervention, chronic swelling evolves into tissue fibrosis, making every step a painful effort and dangerously increasing the risk of falls that can take away your independence forever. The decline does not stop at the body. A suffocated vascular system compromises the cleansing of your brain during sleep, accelerating memory failures and mental confusion. This generates a cycle of family dependence and frequent hospitalizations, where you stop being the protagonist of your life. In contrast, those who decide to act preventively, taking care of their own body's hydrodynamics through the correct dinner, reap the fruit of a vibrant old age. By protecting your heart today, you guarantee decades of preserved mobility, maintaining the lucidity necessary to enjoy every moment with total dignity and without needing constant care from others. Perhaps the most surprising point of this journey is realizing that many foods labeled as healthy are, in reality, saboteurs of the vascular system. You might be swapping white bread for whole grain or fatty cheese for cottage cheese, believing you are protecting your heart without knowing that these products compensate for fat with high doses of hidden sodium. Another important revelation is that thirst after dinner should not be fought only with pure water, but with the mineral balance of potassium to avoid circulating volume overload. If you have made it this far, I recognize your immense desire to age with health and lucidity. Therefore, I ask that you share this knowledge with your family members or friends who also need to protect the autonomy and vitality of their heart. Understanding that danger hides in false health promises is the necessary turn to trust only in real food. To transform this knowledge into real power, start today by practicing the digital pressure test on your shin. If the finger mark persists, your body is crying for help. Immediately eliminate foods that act as true water sponges from your dinner, such as deli meats, white breads, and ready-made broths, replacing them with natural seasonings like garlic and onion, which assist in vasodilation. A technique for immediate utility is to elevate your legs above the level of the heart for 15 minutes before sleeping, facilitating postural drainage and reducing the effort of the cardiac pump during the night. Also observe the color and volume of your morning urine. These adjustments in routine allow you to monitor your vascular health daily. By taking this control, you ensure that every decision translates into light legs, a robust heart, and preserved freedom of movement. At the end of this journey, the central lesson is that your dinner dictates whether your heart will rest or fight for survival during sleep. We understand that swelling in the legs is not an inevitable fate of age, but a biological alert that hidden sodium is kidnapping your vitality and freedom of movement. From now on, observe every signal from your body and choose autonomy, prioritizing real foods that respect your vascular engineering. Small daily decisions are what build decades of a powerful, lucid, and dignified old age. Given what you have learned today, are you ready to transform your evening meal into a true shield for your heart? If so, write strong heart in the comments, subscribe to the channel to protect your longevity, and share this video with those you love. Let us together ensure that time is your greatest ally in the pursuit of an independent and vigorous life.